Chucky fans? We find ourselves here in the penultimate episode for season 2 of the Chucky TV series titled Goin To The Chapel, where let me tell you guys, this right here felt like a finale episode. I almost had to double check and make sure it was the finale because I still need me more Chucky in my life. But as always, as your Chucky boy here, I'm going to be giving you guys my spoiler review on episode 7 of season 2 of the Chucky TV series. I'll be pointing out some Easter eggs you might have missed, recapping the episode while giving you my reaction and getting us ready for the finale episode that is going to be Christmasified. I'm actually kind of excited for that. As well as you Chucky fans, leaving me your opinions down below. Now that we are basically almost over with this show, it's time. Let me know how you're feeling. Are you going into the finale excited, or are you kind of bummed out this season? It'll be tough to say until we see the finale episode, but you guys know here, I've been kind of vocal here as someone who's not a big fan of Seed of Chucky, and this season was very much inspired by Seed of Chucky. I had my hiccups here and there throughout the season, but really overall, Season 2 to me was still a major success. I was never bored throughout any of the episodes. They've managed to keep the twists and turns of coming, and so many of them popped off on this episode that I was not expecting. As much wacky stuff that went on this episode, there was still a lot of things I really enjoyed with the legacy characters and the new characters. This might be one of the only times we have all of them all together, so for that reason alone, I really loved this episode. But without further ado, let's just dive into episode 7 of season 2 of the Chucky TV series. So the episode opens up with Jake getting his confession out of the way with Father Bryce. Now this was an interesting thing this episode decided to do. I'm not very familiar with exorcisms, but apparently one of the rules is everybody involved has to cleanse their soul, and that means giving out a confession. And so what this episode was able to do with different characters giving their confessions, I thought was a really smart way to kind of develop them further. We see Jake here just suffering with the guilt of being responsible for Nadine's death, not just Nadine, but other people from previous episodes. All of that is really lingering on his mind. I think one of my favorite confessions of this episode had to be Andy Barkley here. Alex Vincent continues to do a great job in this role, and him just mentioning here that he has no idea what he's going to do with his life once he gets rid of Chucky, that he's almost scared to move past Chucky in his life. I think a lot of us love the character of Andy Barkley, and when we just get some precious screen time with him developing further his character, we just love to marinate in it, and this was a great moment. Glenda, I thought, was also given a really great moment here because we're still wondering, is Glenda good or bad? We know from the little bit that we've seen in Seed of Chucky and early on in this season, Glenda has no remorse with killing people, but at the end of the day, Glenda still just wants to find out about their past. And I did think it was kind of funny that Glenda just randomly goes, oh, and I killed somebody. Just wanted to mention those confessionals off the top because they were kind of spread out throughout the episode. But then it dives us quickly into where we left off in the previous episode, where I gotta talk about this because I got me a little bit of a gripey gripe. So you guys heard me talk about last episode with Dr. Mixture, where I was kind of hesitant on her character because I was like, oh, she's the reason Chucky is evil. She was the therapist that squashed out all the innocence out of Chucky, and now we have her to thank for evil Chucky. But it looks like that wasn't entirely the picture, and there was something else going on because there was a Chucky after show that I remember them doing last season, but it always played directly after the episode. This season, that didn't happen on my TV. As soon as the episode ended, I would get Ned from Spider-Man turning into a vampire. I'm sure that's fun for somebody. I'm not sticking around for that. But after last week's episode, apparently there was an after show, and a lot of you guys mentioned to me that Don Mancini confirmed that the good guy doll is confirmed to be good. It just had a glitch in its system where it turned bad for a moment, and that's when it killed Nadine. And that kind of changed my whole perspective on this good guy doll, because I thought it was just Chucky pretending to be good, pretending to be nice, just to get close to people and then kill them. To now know that this doll is battling with its inner demons of being good and being bad, it has this both halves in them, same as Glenn and Glenda, or even Nika and Chucky with these both halves residing within each other. I felt that changes my perception on the whole Dr. Mixture situation, and kind of was just a stepping stone to open up to that Chucky can be both good and evil, and that the trio unlocked his good side whenever they brainwashed him. I just hate that I wouldn't have come to that realization unless I watched the Chucky after show that wasn't playing on my TV. I even waited for it after this episode, and again, I just got Ned as a vampire. But putting that aside now and continuing on with this bonkers episode here, we have Kyle showing up at the school saying, no, you can't get rid of that Chucky doll just yet because Nika's downstairs and I promise we'd get that soul out of her, leading to Dr. Mixture realizing that Father Bryce is going to come very in handy to perform an exorcism, leading us to the title card sequence that is filled with candles. Here's then where we cut to Jennifer Tilly and Glenn, who are still currently out on the run trying to make it to the school on time, but their cover is almost blown because Jennifer Tilly is all over the news and people recognize her as a big star. And this is where Tiffany Valentine realizes, you know what? I just need to transfer my soul back into a doll body. There's no point being in this human body. I've compromised myself. It's the only way to go. And she even distinctly mentions it needs to be a Belle doll. And for a second I thought in my head, oh, well, Caroline still has the Belle doll from episode 1, but then it got exploded with Jake's foster brother, so that doll's out of the question. There still must be tons of Belle dolls out in the world, so Tiffany could eventually transfer her soul, but it looks like it's not gonna happen just yet because, well, we see the preview for the next episode. From there, we're taken back to Incarnate Lore, where a bunch of the characters that we've been meeting all throughout the movies, all throughout the episodes of the TV series, all in one location. It's kind of surreal that we've gotten to a place like this in the Chucky universe, and we just have to take a moment to appreciate it. Like here, where Nika Pierce finally gets to meet Andy Barkley officially, because the last time they met was in Cult of Chucky, where it was actually Andy Barkley talking to the Chucky version of Nika, so they didn't actually get to officially meet. It's kind of cool that they have this interaction here. I just wish we got to spend more time with them interacting.
He tossed my babysitter out an 8th-story window.
He stabbed me while I was in the womb.
For family.
But it's understandable, there's a lot going on, we have to mend relationships, speed the development of the story, so maybe we'll have a moment like this somewhere down the line. From there, we're taken to Lexi's bedroom, where she's again just struggling with the death of Nadine, is wanting to relapse into her drug habits, where something totally unexpected happened. We see Nadine come back as an angel. I'm gonna call them out whenever I see them, and I'm just being honest. These are some of them Seed of Chucky-isms that be popping up this season. And at this point, I just gotta roll along with the Chucky ball, because although this was a cheesy moment, it was still really awesome to see Nadine come back after her death the last episode and still sort of be this guardian angel for Lexi. You can kind of excuse this with Lexi taking drugs, so she's hallucinating the event. So getting a little bit of closure with Nadine's character now that she's dead, this was kind of nice, because it was a sweet moment. We then cut to Father Bryce, who's trying to move the process forward into this exorcism, where he has to call the Pope and get approval. Again, did not know that was a thing. But the Pope, hearing that there's an evil killer doll and they need to perform an exorcism, excommunicates Father Bryce, leading them to pull out a book called Exorcism for Dummies that is a callback to Bride of Chucky whenever Tiffany used a book called Voodoo for Dummies. That was kind of a nice little throwback. But now, I'm gonna need y'all to explain what was this.
We're going rogue.
We getting thirst traps of Father Bryce in here? Okay. You know what? Roll with the ball. Roll with the ball. With everybody off doing their own things, currently getting ready for the exorcism, Glenda takes this opportunity to be able to talk with their dad. It's in these moments in the show where I'm still up and down wondering, you know, is Glenda on our side? Are they on their dad's side? And it's very clear that Glenda's just on whatever side suits them. In this moment, Glenda just wants to find out about where they came from. But Glenda, let me tell you, I don't know if you want to hear that story, because we got to see that story. You want to see how you were conceived? Bam!
I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like Pinocchio here.
Glenda, trust me, you don't want to know any further. I also got to point out, I love this little Hannibal Lecter look that they gave to Chucky here. All this season has been paying homage to other horror movies, and this is them just continuing to do that. I also like here how Chucky mentions that since this is the school he grew up in, he stashed away a Bowie knife a long time ago and was asking Glenda to get it for him. While the group is finally preparing for the exorcism to happen, we cut back to the trio that is on their way to the school, and the most unexpected thing happens here, because Jennifer Tilly is hearing that Tiffany wants the body back to switch around. Jennifer Tilly in the doll body realizing, well, if I go back in human form, I'm just gonna get arrested. I'm gonna be sent to prison. Who's gonna believe me that I was trapped in a doll for all these years? Manages to escape and then gets hit by a truck, Bride of Chucky style. I honestly did not know what to think. I'll tell you what, I was not expecting that, so I was sitting there with jaw to the ground going, Jennifer Tilly's dead? That's kind of a bummer, man, after the huge shock and relief we had that she's still alive and maybe there's a smidgen of chance she can get her life back. But no, girl was trapped, forced to do taxes and paperwork all her life for little chocolates, witnessed her sister died, and then goes out through a truck hitting her? R.I.P. Jennifer Tilly. And again, I just really don't know what to think about that. I don't know if that was a waste of the character, if that was just funny. It was shocking, I'll tell you that. Oh, but the shocks don't end there, because it's time for us to give an exorcism to Chucky here. And I know some people were complaining that, like, really, they're gonna perform an exorcism on Chucky, but I mean, the boys' voodoo, supernatural, I feel like this actually kind of makes sense, even though it played out in a very interesting way. As it's going on, I love the moments here where Chucky is just trying to bring up some of his manipulation tactics, how he's killed someone important to almost everybody at this table, like Devin got the worst of it.
Your mother's in hell.
Yeah, we've all seen that movie too.
Could it be powerless to harm her?
Your mother's in hell, Karis. But in your mother's case, it's actually true. She's been busy.
Sure, that was a callback to the movie The Exorcist, but that was still pretty harsh, my guy. It was really just all sorts of insanity in here, and Nika got to bring out her Chucky side just for a little bit, which is always fun. And I'll be honest with you guys, as wacky and as weird as it was, I was fully invested into this moment. I was wanting to know where it was going, especially when Chucky is floating into the air, Vecna style. I was on the edge of my seat going, what's going on? What's happening? Then you see Father Bryce tipped over, starting to do little hints of that Chucky laughter. I was like, oh, he possessed Father Bryce. He's in a human body. What are we gonna do? And just like with everything in this season, the unexpected happened. Father Bryce blows up 20 different ways. What? Don Mancini and the crew at the Chucky TV series, what y'all got against Devin Sawa, man? Like, y'all had to really exaggerate his death like that? That was kind of insane. And for a character I was hating on just because of how annoyingly religious he was being all throughout, I felt a little bad for him when he went. But in his explosion, that was one of the last Chucky variants that was out there. We had Colonel Chucky dead, Buff Chucky's dead, and now semi-good guy Chucky is dead and gone, leaving that doll completely open for Nika to perform the Dimbalis spell and transfer over Prime Chucky's soul into this doll. And I love immediately as the soul was transferred, Jake took no time. He's like, it's not gonna be my fault that someone else dies, takes him to the holy water, and then just starts trying to drown him, all at the same time while this holy water is essentially burning Chucky. Yet Chucky still gets to have a bit of the last laugh because the sister who thought Chucky was the reincarnation of God is holding Lexi hostage, and this whole time I'm like, nobody was checking up on Lexi? We have killer dolls out on the loose and you were just letting Lexi sit in her bedroom alone? Come on, man. This was, though, a great moment for Glenda to show off that even though they are on the good side right now, they still got a bit of evilest murderer side to them. Throwing the Bowie knife that belonged to Chucky that he hid away in this school when he was a young boy. Looks like Glenda went after it just in case. And taking this sister's eye out. This is where I want to point out to you guys, for any of you who are watching this on TV or anywhere else, this is how bloody this show is. And we're on freaking TV. I remember the days we were all scared they were going to censor Chucky. And I mean, I feel like they're still doing stuff they would do in the movies. But now this person out of the way, Andy Barkley sprints into action. Don't know how his leg magically healed from the big old wounds he had, but I'm just gonna accept it because this boy gets some amazing shots on Chucky right here. It was honestly very satisfying, and I'm so happy they gave Andy Barkley that. He's the one we followed and started it all, and since this was kind of being built up to be the end of Prime Chucky, it was kind of nice that they gave him that. Also kind of love this Avengers style lineup shot here where we just have the generations of victims of Chucky lined up going, yeah, man, you're dead. This is the end. We win. Really love how the Chucky team was able to pull this off, and that's one of the reasons I love this franchise. The way they have continued one story all the way back from the 80s. That's got to be some sort of big achievement here. And as we were coming to the close of this episode, it's where I was telling you they were treating this like a finale episode, like this was the end, and it was kind of freaking me out because that's like, I'm pretty sure I still have one more episode. Don't tell me this is the end. We start off here with Kyle and Andy kind of saying goodbye to each other, setting off their new lives, where they even give us a flashback to the end of Child's Play 2, my favorite Child's Play movie, and this was such a sweet, heartfelt moment. I wonder if it's the last for these two characters, because in a weird way you could say they go off into the sunset now. I doubt it, but it's still a really sweet moment. If they never come back, hey, at least I know these two characters I love are happy somewhere out there. Then we move on to Nika and Glenda, who are outside, kind of discussing what they're gonna do now. Nika saying she's just gonna go watch a movie, while Glenda is still very much lost on what their future should be. As this conversation is going on, though, Tiffany and Glenn finally show up, where Nika just wants her revenge. And I do not blame Nika in this situation. Even though she's made friends with Glenn and Glenda, Tiffany still cut off her limbs, held her hostage, forced her into this relationship. Like, Nika, you should have shot sooner. But of course, the good-spirited person that Glenn is got in the way of the bullet. And I think as soon as that bullet hit Glenn, we all knew what that meant. Glenn is gonna end up in the doll body, and that better show up in the finale. But also in a weird way, this is another frickin' L for Nika. Don Mancini, let her have a win. I know Chucky's out of her body, but I need more wins than this, please. Leaving us here with a final tease before the finale episode where Dr. Mixter is in her car driving away, kind of having this bit of a Chucky laugh in her, making us wonder, did Chucky get to transfer her soul in Dr. Mixter? Is there sort of a Nika and Chucky situation going on here where both souls are in this one body? And all Dr. Mixter has to do is find another good guy doll up on eBay, which I'm sure is going to be easy in their universe, transfer his soul over into the doll, and then boom bada bing, we got a big Christmas finale that I'm really excited about. So yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to the finale. I think this season has been interesting to say the least. I already popped out my Christmas hat that I had in storage here because I'm gonna have some fun next week. I need to hear from you guys. What did you think of the penultimate episode for Chucky Season 2? Were you a fan of it? Do you like where it's leading up? Any thoughts and theories and speculations for the ending? Love to hear it. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chucky Christmas Boy. Take care.